Yo, what up, fight fans, and welcome to Counter Punch, where we sit talking bullshit about mixed martial arts and boxing. I'm RJ Bam. Let's kick this shit off, man. I appreciate y'all joining me. Basically, this is the inaugural episode. I am a huge mixed martial arts fan. I love the UFC. I love boxing, and I have Lateral Move, which is the podcast, and everything else is under that umbrella, including Pass Interference, which is our sports podcast, and it's very NFL and NBA heavy. And since I'm such a big fan of the fight game, I wanted to start a podcast because for purely just for combat sports, and because there's a UFC event pretty much every weekend. There's a lot of big boxing has never been better, and there's so many boxing events coming up, and so I wanted to start one where I just upload videos about my thoughts about the upcoming fights, and I want to try to do this every week. So this is also going to be a subset to Lateral Move, but Counterpunch, that's this show, and I appreciate y'all listening, man. This weekend we have a fight night coming up for the UFC that I want to talk about real quick before I let you guys go. And since it is purely just a MMA boxing podcast, it's not going to be crazy long like the other ones. It's going to be a quick little get in, get out, let you know, get in, get out, and that's the name of the game, right? Hit and don't get hit. So we can get started right up on that. And I like what the UFC is doing now, because back in the day, maybe just even 10 years ago, you used to get the biggest UFC pay-per-view cards, and it was starting to get to the point where they're just throwing up pay-per-views left and right, and the cards were trash, man. It just wasn't worth the money that you would normally be getting from like that the cards, the standard that the cards used to have back in the day. And now that ESPN bought them out, that $4 billion sale that the UFC did with ESPN, Dana getting paid, it's gotten better. Now there's more cards all the time. If you have ESPN Plus, and this card is in the Mexico City Arena on ESPN Plus. So if you have an ESPN Plus account, you already automatically got access to this fight. And the cool thing about the ESPN buying out the cards, or buying out the UFC, is that every weekend there's pretty much a fight. The ESPN Plus cards happen on the fight nights, and those happen all the time. And then there's like the there's like, it's ESPN Plus, and then the pay-per-views is basically what they have going on. A lot of times you have to flip back and forth between ESPN and ESPN Plus. I just watch it on my computer. You can plug that right into your TV, or like nowadays, like TVs have internet anyway, so you can do it that way as well. But that's an easy way, and that way you don't have to like log out, log in, whatever. It's just easy access. So sometimes like the prelims will be on ESPN, and then the main card will be on ESPN Plus. I've even seen it on like pay-per-views where like the early prelims are on ESPN Plus, and the prelims are on ESPN, and you go back to ESPN Plus to watch the pay-per-view. But anyway, this weekend is a fight night. It is Fight Night 159. The main event is Yair Rodriguez and Jeremy Stevens, and the co-main is Carla Esparza and Alexa Grasso. So we'll get to talking about this in just a second. The cool thing, so now that ESPN is putting on a show every weekend, the fight nights, it's $5.99 if you have ESPN Plus, so you can watch that easily. And then the pay-per-views are $59.99 if you want HD or whatever. So and now that they do fights every weekend, they can build up their fighters again on the fight nights, and then the pay-per-views will be pretty much the majority of pay-per-views, outside of a couple of exceptions to the rule, are going to be for belts. A lot of times pay-per-views have the main and the co-main have belts on it. So pay-per-views are starting to get stacked again. You pay a lot more for it, so you're going to get the big fights, and then they can build up the names through the fight night. But this weekend, Yair Rodriguez Jeremy Stevens and Carla Esparza and Alexa Grasso. So let's get right into it. The co-main between Carla and Alexa. You have between the two, you have Carla Esparza, who has been in the game a lot longer. She's this is going to be her 21st fight, and then you have Alexa, who is a little bit of a newcomer, but they both are exciting fighters for the women's strawweight division. Carla has been there before, where she's fought for the title. If I'm not mistaken, was Carla the very first UFC strawweight champion? She's a big grappler, and so if I'm correct, I think she was the very first UFC strawweight champion for women, and she beat Rose in the Ultimate Fighter, and then she's been around for a long time. She's got a lot of fights under her belt. Her last couple fights, so they're both Alexa and Carla are on 1-fight win streaks right now, and they both have actually really similar losses. Carla just beat oh my god, in a 3-round decision against Virna Jandiroba. Jandiroba, I think is how you say it. She was just won that fight back in April, and then prior to that, she was coming off of a 2-fight loss. But the caveat to that is the 2 fights that she lost to last year. In June, she lost to Claudia Gadelha, who is a monster truck of a fighter for the women's strawweight. She was a very high title contender, and then she took a couple of losses, and so she's kind of reorganizing, recalibrating. And her other loss in September was to Tatiana Suarez, who is, man, she is the dark horse of the women's strawweight right now. She is a highly decorated Mexican grappler. She is a not just grappler, but she is a beast of a wrestler, taking down dudes in high school, everything. She is a monster. Comes from a family of all boys. I think she's the only girl, and she grew up wrestling, man, and she is damn good at it. So she is. God, it's hard to say she's the Khabib of women's strawweight, but if I had to pick something, she's so dominant in wrestling that she might just be the Khabib of the women's strawweight, and she's slowly climbing the ranks. She's undefeated right now, and so those were her last 2 fights that she lost, and then coming in before this fight, she just beat Jandiroba in back in April. So she's on a 1-fight win streak, and then on the same page, Alexa, also on a 1-fight win streak. She actually just beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, which is a pretty big fight considering Karolina was this close to holding the belt not that long ago. And then before that, she also lost to Tatiana Suarez, the women's dark horse, man. She's climbing the ranks, so all those women's strawweights better watch out. But the interesting thing about strawweights right now is so cool because we have our first Chinese belt holder in the UFC, and it's a women's strawweight, Weili Zhang. Man, she is a monster, and she is a phenomenal grappler. She's tapped people out, and she also just is like a Mack truck in there. You can see her. She's thick, she's muscly, she's short, and she bangs. And she did quick work of Jessica Andrade. Man, was that in Shanghai? I don't think it was Shanghai, but it was it was in China where they had where Jessica Andrade defended her belt for the first time and lost in 44 seconds, somewhere around there. And interesting about China, like there's only, I think, 2 UFC Performance Institutes locations. One is in the U.S., obviously, in I believe it's in Nevada, in Las Vegas. And the other one, which is the biggest one in the world, is in China. Who would have thought? China and Weili Zhang is really bringing a lot of eyes to Chinese fighting, and she's gonna. It is gonna be tough for anybody that has to go up against her. She's like one of these new bred fighters. She's young, and if my thoughts are that she will probably hold that belt for a little while. I don't see anybody giving her that much run for her money with defending that belt. So I think she's gonna be holding that belt for anybody that wants it can come and get it. But she's a tough little Chinese cookie. She's a tough little fortune cookie. So I'll tell you that. But Alexa Grasso is also she's the number 9 ranked strawweight in the division right now. And so she will be the favorite going into this fight. Between her and Carla, I believe Carla's has better ground game than Carla. All of her wins, all of Grasso's wins have been on the feet. Whether it's decision or KOs or TKOs, and then her 2 losses that she has, one to Felice Herrig and one to Tatiana Suarez. Felice went to decision. Tatiana, she got submitted by a rear naked choke. But between the two, Alexa, I believe, is the favorite, and Carla's a little bit older. She's got something to prove. Alexa's the young gun, ready to get after it. Beating Carolina was a big deal. Losing to Tatiana is not the biggest deal because Tatiana is higher ranked than her anyway. And man, she's just coming out. This is Carla's one of her bigger names that she's gonna fight. They fed her to the wolves with Carolina. I think when she lost to Tatiana still wasn't who she is now. Tatiana wasn't Tatiana yet, in terms of how big her name was. And so now she's fighting Carla, and if she can come up with a win against Carla, which if I'm a betting man, gun to the head, I would put my money on Grasso. She then has a shot at the top ranked competitors. We'll see what happens to her after this. I mean, she's number 9. So if I'm a betting man, I think Alexa Grasso gets it done. Holy shit, her full name is Karen Alexa Grasso Montez, but she goes by her second and middle name apparently. If gun to the head, I see Alexa coming out with the W on this one. But Carla is no easy win, man. She's been there, she's experienced, she knows what to do. And if Alexa's ground game is not where she needs it to be, if she can't defend the takedowns, she doesn't have anti-wrestling, then Carla could take her down to submit her. Her last loss was to a rear naked choke. Carla's very good on the ground, so anything can happen in the fight game. That's the thing. But if you're a betting man, the odds are Alexa is probably the favorite to win that. So I kind of see it going that way. And then up to the main event, Jeremy Stephens, Yair Rodriguez. Man, what a fucking banger. And I believe Jeremy Stephens is also 9th ranked. I believe he's also the 9th ranked fighter. No, he's 8th. He's 8th. He's 8th in the featherweights. And he is probably the favorite to fight in this fight. His last fight was against Zabit, which a lot of people thought, man, Zabit is the one of the most well-rounded fighters. Anybody that talks about Zabit talks about his immense potential in this game. He's his stand-up is out of control. He does wild shit in the ring with the utmost confidence. You see him doing crazy flips, switch kicks, all kinds of he's so tall he's like 6'5", 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", fighting at 145. So you already have the reach advantage against everybody. How he makes that weight, I have no idea. And when he was fighting Jeremy Stephens, I was like, yo, Jeremy Stephens is a tough motherfucker, but like, how do you, and he's a stand-up fighter, and Zabit does work with people on the feet. And he was able to go all 5 rounds against Zabit, and he lost in his decision. So it just proves, 3 rounds. He went all 3 rounds with Zabit, and he lost in a decision. So it was a lot closer than people thought, and it really showed how much heart Jeremy Stephens has. Now, Jeremy Stephens' last 4 fights, he lost to Jose Aldo. Oh, that's that. Okay, so his last 4 fights, he beats Du Ho Choi. He knocks him out in the second round. He fights Josh Emmett, knocks him out in the second round, and then he fights Jose Aldo, and he gets TKO'd in the first round at the very last second. And then after that, he puts up that big fight against Zabit, and then now here he is against Yair Rodriguez. And I mean, look, Zabit is a higher ranked. I'm pretty sure Zabit's pretty high ranked up in there, isn't he? Jose Aldo, I think, is still in the top whatever. Is Zabit still not ranked? He's 6'1". Thought he was taller than that. Interesting to know that Calvin Kattar fight with Zabit is back on. It was on, it was off, and now it's back on, so I'm excited about that. I'm assuming what happened was that Zabit had some sort of injury, and then because his camp didn't say anything, and I was super excited to see him fight Calvin Kattar. And I guess it's back on now. So I was worried because I was like, please don't tell me that it's some sort of PED pop, but I'm assuming it was some sort of injury that they didn't want to release in case he was able to make it, and it looks like they put it back on. So, and then we have a look at Yair, who's had an interesting last 2 years. He's a very, very talented kid. He's coming in, marking everybody on the feet. He's one of the most talented people on the feet. He's got so many tools in his tool belt. He beats Alex Caceres. He beats Andre Fili. He beats Frankie Edgar. He beats BJ Penn. Does a quick work of BJ Penn. Murks BJ Penn. The fact that he knocked out Frankie Edgar, that's a big deal. And then last year, he had that last minute knockout, last second of the round 5 uppercut, I guess it's a upper elbow, a flying uppercut elbow from a weird position. He ducked underneath and popped the Korean zombie right in the chin. And man, he is one of the most exciting fighters. He's had some weird stuff with the UFC. Good Lord, his resume is unreal. Beats Leonardo Morales, beats Dan Hooker, beats Charles Rosa, Caceres, Fili. I mean, okay. They put him at number 7, so he's the number 7 ranked featherweight. Okay, that makes a lot more sense because as of July, he's the number 7. So he's actually the favorite going into this fight, probably, especially because he's on such a win streak right now. Did he lose to Frankie Edgar? Doctor stoppage. Interesting. A doctor stoppage against Frankie Edgar. How did I read that wrong? When did he lose to Frankie Edgar? Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did. He lost to Frankie Edgar. Doctor stoppage. That's crazy. Okay, I thought he knocked out Frankie Edgar. I read that wrong. I'm sorry. So, but anyway, he had a weird little tiff where he was telling the UFC, yo, release me. Like, he was going to go to Bellator. That didn't work out. He got re-signed by the UFC. He's back. And so now Frankie Edgar, I mean, he's a legend. So losing to Frankie is not that big a deal. And then right after a doctor stoppage to Frankie Edgar, you destroy another legend in BJ Penn. and then you come back and knock out Sung Jung Chan. So, and now we have Jeremy Stevens, Yair Rodriguez, and Jeremy Stevens has bricks for hands. So he is coming in swinging. This fight's not going to the ground. The other fight between Carla and Alexa might go to the ground, and if so, Carla's going to have the advantage. If Alexa can keep her standing, she's going to have the advantage. This fight's not going to the ground. This fight is a full-on bloodbath stand-up fight, and I cannot wait. Jeremy Stevens is coming in, one of the hardest featherweight punchers in the division, and Yair is one of the most elusive, most interesting, sly styles. He can do everything, man. He can flying knees, jumping off the cage, doing Anthony Pettis shit. Like he does wild shit. He knocked somebody out by dipping underneath and uppercutting them with his elbow. I mean, like, who does shit like that? It was the wildest knockout in the last second minute. It was in the 59th second of the 4th minute of the last round of round 5. He literally, in the last second, knocked somebody out with an uppercut elbow. Is that how you would even describe it? An uppercut elbow? He ducks underneath and pops his elbow up and gets him right on the chin. How do you even hit somebody like that? That's insane. So, between the two, man, oh, God, I cannot wait for this fight. I've been waiting to see Yair. That last fight was back in November, so it's been almost a full year. 10 months since that fight against the Korean Zombie, and he's man, I'm excited for this fight. And shortly after this, next weekend is gonna be the Errol Spence Jr. Fight, and that is not gonna be. Errol Spence is in my top 5 pound for pound for sure. In terms of boxing, it was Andre Ward was number 1 for me. And he retired, so we got to take him off the list. And so for me, Terrence Crawford is number 1. Vasily Lomachenko is number 2. Errol Spence is number 3. Canelo's probably number 4. And Canelo, oh my God, Canelo's another monster. He's jumping up 2 weight classes to fight somebody now in his next fight. And but then the Errol Spence is going to be fighting coming up. And Sean Porter, that's what it is. And Sean Porter is no punk either, and that's happening not this weekend, next weekend. So I'll probably do something about it, about this next weekend. But that fight is that fight's gonna prove something to everybody with Errol Spence. He is not. He's looking to make a name for himself. We're waiting to see. I mean, what the fight everyone's waiting to see is Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I mean, that's basically what we're all waiting to see. But in the meantime, he got a big fight against Sean Porter. Sean Porter can make this thing a lot dirtier than people think. I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think. And it's just like Sean Porter said, Errol Spence Jr.'s got a lot more to lose in this fight than he does. And that's going to put a lot of pressure on Errol Spence. But, hey, you know what? The greats, when the pressure comes, those are the ones that can live up to it and overcome. So I'm super pumped to see that fight. But back to the UFC card, though, this weekend. Carla, Alexa, and Yair and Jeremy Stevens. For me, I got Alexa in a unanimous decision win. And then I have Yair 4th round TKO of Jeremy Stevens. I think Yair is just there. God, it's such a tough fight for him because any time in that fight, Jeremy Stevens can land that right hand and knock somebody out. But I think that Yair is going to withstand the pressure of Jeremy Stevens. I think Stevens is going to get a little bit more tired throughout the rounds, and I think the 4th round, Yair is really going to light him up. And Yeah, that's who I got, man. So stay tuned for that fight. I think it's gonna be. I mean, all main events should be five. Even though this is not for a belt, all main events should be 5 rounds. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So assuming that's 5 rounds. If it's I mean, even though it's not for a belt, if it's a three, I mean, all main events should be 5 rounds. I'm pretty sure that's the rule. If it's only 3 rounds, then that's a little bit tougher for Yair. So he'll have to pull it out in three. If it is 5 rounds, like all main events are supposed to be, then yeah, I see a 4th round TKO stoppage. So stay tuned. That's gonna be a fucking fun fight. Any minute in that fight, it's like I want to say don't blink, because Jeremy Stephens can land that right hand at any moment and end the fight. But yeah, I see it going for Alexa in decision, and I see it going for Yair, the 4th round TKO. So that's my 2 cents or whatever. Man, I love that there's fights every fucking weekend now, and boxing has never been greater. This is literally the golden age of boxing all over again. It's been a long time since we've had such great fighters in boxing, bringing up boxing again. It was a big lull after Tyson left, and man, the fight game has just been so much better. It's my favorite fucking sport. There are no off seasons. It's literally happens all year long, and that's why I love it. So I appreciate y'all listening, man. This is gonna be a little small segment, a subset of Lateral Move, a small segment that we're gonna try to do every weekend since there's fights every weekend. So I appreciate y'all listening, man. And yeah, man, let me know what you guys think of the fights. Watch it this weekend. We'll comment about it next. We'll talk about it more next week after the fights are over. But I appreciate y'all listening. Stay tuned. I'll see you later.